The broadcast was supposed to be routine, just another live report from a busy downtown festival. But millions watching had no idea they were seconds away from witnessing a moment that would ignite national outrage. A female cop stepped into frame, her expression sharp with authority. Her posture co-a routine news segment was unfolding when millions of viewers witnessed a moment so shocking that the entire broadcast froze in disbelief. A female cop stepped into frame, her expression sharp with authority and her posture confident, as she confronted a black man who looked calm and composed. Then came the slap, swift, loud, unmistakable. Her face drained of color when she realized who he truly was. But how did everything escalate so fast, and why did it expose something far more profound? Watch until the end. Wait a second. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this one. He arrived quietly that morning, blending into the crowd with the humility that defined him. Few people ever recognized him outside formal settings, and he cherished that anonymity. As one of the youngest Supreme Court judges in the country, he valued observing life as an ordinary citizen, free from titles or the weight of expectation. The cultural festival seemed like the perfect place to unwind. Colorful banners hung across the streets, children ran around laughing, and food vendors filled the air with warm, comforting aromas. He wandered with gentle curiosity, appreciating the community he had sworn to serve and its diversity. What he didn't know was that a tense atmosphere had been building. A mixture of heightened police presence, stressed officers, and whispered complaints about suspicious individuals. He remained unaware that his peaceful walk through the festival would soon turn into an event that would shake the entire nation. The atmosphere shifted long before he sensed anything was wrong. Officers patrolled with an urgency that didn't match the friendly event unfolding around them. He noticed small things first, the glances, the silent judgments, the way some officers placed their hands on their belts as he walked by. What started as subtle discomfort grew into a tension he could feel pressing against his skin. He tried to ignore it, telling himself he wasn't the first black man to receive such treatment, and sadly, wouldn't be the last. A news crew was broadcasting live near the main stage, capturing the vibrant scenery. He stepped past them, unaware that his presence had already been flagged over police radios as a person of interest. The description was vague, the suspicion baseless. A complaint from a festival-goer who claimed a black man looked out of place. Those words traveled quickly through the chain of authority, triggering an unnecessary aggressive response. He felt footsteps growing closer behind him. They were too heavy and too deliberate to be accidental. Before he could turn, a firm hand pushed against his shoulder, stopping him mid-step. He raised his hand slightly to show calm, but the officer misread his movement as defiance. Cameras were already rolling, capturing every detail as if the moment had been staged. The officer, with a tight jaw and narrowed brows, stepped into his path with the kind of confidence that came from years of unchallenged authority. She didn't ask questions. She didn't pause. She assumed, and in that assumption lay the spark that would soon ignite an entire nation's outrage. The tension snapped in an instant. With a sudden burst of anger and misplaced certainty, the officer lifted her hand and struck him across the face right there in the middle of a live broadcast. The sound echoed through the microphone, startling the reporters and silencing the crowd. He staggered slightly but didn't retaliate, his eyes filled not with rage but deep disappointment. The camera zoomed closer, revealing his face clearly. A producer's voice cracked through the studio as someone recognized him. Within seconds, whispers spread among the officers nearby. Her expression shifted from fierce authority to trembling fear, as she realized she had just assaulted a sitting Supreme Court judge. The world seemed to pause as everyone waited to see what would happen next. Everything, after the slap, unfolded in a slow, surreal haze. The crowd that had been laughing moments earlier now stood still, absorbing the severity of what they had just witnessed. Children stopped running. Adults lowered their phones in disbelief. And the festival music faded as tension swallowed the entire street. The officer who had struck him began to step back, her hands trembling as the truth sank deeper into her bones. She had assumed he was a threat. She had acted without reason, and she had done it in front of millions. He didn't speak. Instead, he steadied himself, took a breath, and observed the faces around him: fear, confusion, guilt, anger, and expectation. Everyone seemed to wonder whether he would lash out, demand punishment, or deliver a powerful statement on the spot. But he wasn't thinking about revenge. He was thinking about the countless others who had experienced similar treatment with no cameras to protect them. Supervisors rushed in, forming a protective circle around him while ushering the officer away. Some attempted apologies. Others tried to justify the situation with explanations about miscommunication and heightened patrol concerns. But none of it mattered. The truth had been broadcast live, unedited and undeniable. The decorated officer had acted on prejudice, and the nation had seen it for itself. He requested no special treatment. No spotlight, no immediate punishment. He simply asked to finish his walk through the festival. That request alone shocked everyone. As he moved forward, crowds parted in silence, giving him space. His face still stung from the impact. But the deeper pain came from knowing that even a man with his status was not immune to racial profiling and violence. Later that evening, the footage spread across social media. Hashtags trended everywhere. Activists, journalists, politicians, and ordinary citizens shared the clip, attaching words like justice, accountability, and systemic racism. Television panels erupted in debate. Some dismissed the event as an overreaction, while others argued that it exposed a widespread, painful reality. When he released a statement the next day, his tone was calm but firm. He explained that his experience was not unique, that countless black men and women endured the same treatment, or worse, without the privilege of authority or visibility. He emphasized that while he was fortunate to have survived unharmed, many others were not. His message was not rooted in personal anger, but in collective truth. The officer faced internal review, mandatory evaluations, and national scrutiny. Some defended her conduct. Others demanded her immediate removal. But his goal was not revenge. His goal was reform, accountability, and awareness. He pushed for mandatory bias training, revised use of force policies, strict body camera rules, and community oversight boards. His influence ensured the conversation became constructive rather than emotional alone. Protests emerged in the following weeks, unified and nonviolent. People marched with signs reading "Justice for All and End Racial Bias." They marched not just for him, but for those who lacked a voice. His story became a catalyst, not because he was a judge, but because the injustice had been undeniable. Months later, during a televised debate on police reform, he reflected on the moment that changed everything. He admitted he still thought about the slap, not because of the physical impact, but because of what it represented. It reminded him that titles could not shield anyone from prejudice. It reminded the world that progress required more than dialogue. It required action. The officer eventually issued a public apology, acknowledging her biases and expressing remorse. Some accepted it, others rejected it. But it forced a nationwide conversation on introspection within law enforcement. Her career would never be the same, but in many ways it marked the beginning of her personal reckoning. He continued his work with renewed determination. He became a leading voice for equality, justice, and systemic reform. He did not seek fame from the incident. The story itself had already served its purpose. It opened eyes. It challenged beliefs. It exposed truth. Years later, people still reference that moment on live television, not as entertainment but as a turning point. A moment when truth became impossible to dismiss. A moment when a single act of prejudice revealed a reality many tried to ignore. And so he often asked a simple question during his speeches. If this could happen to someone with power, recognition, and influence, what happens to those with none? A question that lingers. A question that demands reflection. A question now passed on to you. Before you go, tell me which country and city you are watching from. Take care.